My dad sneered, "You'll never be the man your brother is." So I let him watch as my brother asked me for a loan. Spoiler, I charged interest. I'm Jason, 32 years old, male, and I swear my dad's voice still echoes in my head like it's tattooed there. "You'll never be the man your brother is." He said it 2 years ago, standing in our kitchen, red-faced and half-drunk, spitting the words like they'd been simmering for decades. And the worst part? He said it in front of my brother Ryan, 35 years old, male. Ryan didn't even flinch, didn't defend me, didn't laugh it off, just smirked like the comment was obvious truth. Like of course I'd never measure up. That was the moment something cracked inside me. Let me give you some background because this isn't one of those "my dad hates me for no reason" stories. It's been a lifetime of small cuts that finally bled me out. Ryan has always been the golden boy. Varsity football, dad in the stands screaming himself hoarse. Me? The weird kid who loved books, computers, building little projects in the garage. Dad would walk past, glance at my soldering iron or whatever I was tinkering with, and mutter, "Waste of time. Real men play ball." Mom tried to buffer, but she was quieter, always smoothing things over, the kind of person who'd whisper, "Just let it go, Jason," while Dad's voice thundered through the walls. She loved me, I think, but she wasn't about to challenge him head-on. Ryan leaned into it. He loved being the center of attention, and honestly, I can't even fully blame him. When you grow up being worshipped, you start to believe the altar is yours by right. He got the car at 16, the fat allowance, the "Don't worry about chores, son. Focus on football." I got the borrowed truck with a broken AC, and every chore in the house dumped on me like it was second nature. When I went to college for computer science, Dad laughed, told me I was running from the real world. When Ryan dropped out of his business degree after one semester? College isn't for everyone. He'll figure it out. Guess who ended up building a six-figure career in software engineering? Me. Guess who's been hopping between odd jobs and living off handouts? Ryan. But none of that mattered to Dad. In his eyes, Ryan was still the blueprint for manhood. So when Dad threw that line at me, "You'll never be the man your brother is," I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I just let it sear into me. And I promised myself quietly that one day I'd make them both eat it. And wouldn't you know it, the day came sooner than I thought. Because Ryan, the golden boy, the favorite, the real man, ended up on my doorstep, broke, desperate, asking me for money. And I made sure Dad was there to watch. Ryan showed up on a gray Sunday morning, the kind where the sky looks like wet concrete. I just made coffee when my doorbell rang. I half expected it to be Amazon, but no, it was Ryan. He looked nothing like the brother I grew up with. His hair was messy, his hoodie stained, his eyes bloodshot like he hadn't slept in days. He gave me this sheepish grin, trying to play it off casual, but his voice cracked the second he spoke. "Jay, man, I need a favor." That phrase alone was enough to make my stomach drop. Ryan never came to me unless something was seriously wrong. Normally he went straight to Dad, but I guess when you've burned through every bridge, you start sniffing around for the one person you swore you'd never need. I stepped aside, let him in. He wandered into my kitchen like he still owned the place, like we were still teenagers raiding the fridge. Then he leaned against the counter and dropped the bomb. "Look, I wouldn't ask if it wasn't bad, but I'm in a hole. Lost my job 2 months ago. Credit cards are maxed out, rent's overdue. I just need, like, 5 grand to get back on my feet." 5 grand. I stared at him, trying to read if he was joking. He wasn't. His hands were shaking. His voice was thin. And then, the kicker. "Dad said you're doing good now, that you'd probably help me out." There it was, the knife twisted cleanly. Not only did Ryan come crawling to me, but he came carrying Dad's voice like a badge of authority. I could feel the old bitterness rising, that echo of, "You'll never be the man your brother is." And yet here was the so-called man asking me to bail him out. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I asked him, "Does Dad know you're here?" Ryan hesitated, scratched the back of his neck. "Yeah, actually, he's waiting in the car. Thought maybe it'd be better if he came along, to talk to you too." My blood went cold. Of course Dad was here. He couldn't just let Ryan ask for help like a normal human being. No, he had to come supervise. Maybe to make sure I remembered my place. I walked to the window and peeked through the blinds. And sure enough, there he was. Dad sitting in his old Ford, arms crossed, staring at my house like he owned it. And I swear to you, that was the moment everything in me hardened. If they wanted my help, fine, but they were going to get it on my terms. So I turned back to Ryan, kept my voice calm. Okay, I'll give you the loan, but we're doing it properly. Contract, interest, collateral. Ryan blinked, confused. Wait, what? You're asking me for 5 grand, I said. This isn't charity. This is business. If you want the money, you sign papers and you pay me back, with interest. The look on his face, priceless, like he'd just been told the sky was green. He wasn't used to me setting the rules, and that was just the beginning. Ryan's jaw dropped like I'd just spoken another language. Interest? He repeated, like the word itself was offensive. Yeah, I said, calm, sipping my coffee like I was talking about the weather. You want to borrow money from me? You treat it like a loan. 10% interest due in 6 months. You miss a payment, I keep your truck. That last part was improvisation. His beat-up Chevy wasn't worth much, but I knew it would sting. Ryan loved that truck. Before he could even process it, I heard the screen door slam. Heavy boots on the porch. Then Dad barged in without knocking, because of course he did. Jason! He barked, his voice filling the house. He looked the same as ever, work boots, oil-stained jeans, the permanent scowl carved into his face like weathered stone. What the hell are you playing at? Your brother comes to you for help and you start talking about interest? What are you, a damn loan shark? I set my coffee down, deliberately slow. I'm being responsible. You always said Ryan was the man in this family, right? Real men pay their debts. Dad's face went red so fast I thought he might stroke out. He stepped closer, jabbing a finger at me. Don't you get smart with me, boy. He's your brother. You help him. That's what family does. Ryan tried to jump in. Dad, it's fine, But Dad cut him off. No, it's not fine. Jason's sitting here acting high and mighty with his computer job like he's better than us. You think you're some big shot now, charging interest to your own blood? That old fury flared in me, but I didn't let it show. I leaned back in my chair, forced myself to sound calm. Almost bored. I'm treating Ryan like an adult. If he wants a handout, he can go back to you. Oh wait, guess that well's dried up, huh? That landed like a gut punch. Dad's mouth opened, then snapped shut. His fists clenched at his sides. For a second, I thought he was actually going to swing at me. Instead, he grabbed a coffee mug off the counter and hurled it against the wall. It shattered, shards scattering across the tile. Ryan flinched. I didn't. The silence afterward was thick, broken only by Dad's ragged breathing. Finally, Ryan muttered, Dad, maybe I should just sign the damn thing. It's not a big deal. Dad turned on him like he'd betrayed the family name. You're really going to let him treat you like some stranger off the street, like you're begging? Ryan's eyes darted between us, and for the first time in my life, I saw shame in him. Real, heavy shame. And I just sat there, calm as a stone, letting Dad feel every ounce of his own words bouncing back at him, because this was only the start. Dad stood there, chest heaving, pieces of ceramic glittering on the floor like shrapnel. I didn't move, didn't raise my voice. That was the part that seemed to enrage him the most, that I wasn't giving him the screaming match he wanted. Ryan rubbed his hands over his face and muttered, Screw it, Jason. Got a pen? His voice was small, shaky, like he just wanted it over with. I slid a folder across the table. Printed contract, neatly stapled. I'd drafted it the night before. Call it intuition, or maybe I'd been waiting years for a chance like this. Ryan scanned it like the words were in hieroglyphics. 10% interest, collateral on my truck. Monthly payments. He trailed off, swallowed hard. Then, without looking at Dad, he signed. The sound of the pen scratching paper was the loudest thing in the room. Dad exploded. Are you out of your goddamn mind? He slammed his fist on the table so hard the coffee mug rattled. You don't sign that. He's your brother, not some banker. Ryan's voice cracked. What choice do I have, Dad? You can't help me. Nobody else can. At least this way, I get a chance. That was it. That was the moment I saw it. The tiny crack in Dad's armor. The realization that his golden son wasn't looking to him anymore. He was looking to me. Dad's face twisted. He grabbed the signed paper and tried to tear it in half. I snatched it back, held it tight. Our hands brushed for a second, his grip strong, mine steady. He yanked, but I didn't let go. Jason, he growled, voice low and dangerous. You think this makes you better than him? Than me? I met his eyes. No, it just makes me the man you said I'd never be. That broke something in him. His eyes went glassy, wild. He stormed to the door, muttering curses, then spun back around. You think you're clever? Let's see how clever you are when the whole family hears how you extorted your own brother. And with that, he was gone, slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall and cracked on the floor. Ryan sat there, pale, staring at the contract like it might bite him. What the hell did I just do? I leaned back, calm, collected. You just proved Dad wrong. And trust me, that's going to burn him more than anything. What I didn't know then? Dad wasn't bluffing about going nuclear with the family, and when he dragged them into it, things got ugly. Fast. Update. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up like it did. I've been sitting here all night reading through your comments, Deans, even the unhinged ones telling me I'm a corporate loan shark cosplaying as family. Special shout out to the guy who said I should have charged mafia rates. Tempting, but I'm not trying to end up in federal prison. So here's what's happened since that last post. Dad made good on his threat. He started calling around to everyone, our cousins, my Aunt Linda, even Grandma, telling them I'd extorted Ryan. His exact words were, Jason treats his own brother like a stranger off the street. He's putting him in debt just to feel superior. And the sick part? Some people ate it up. Aunt Linda texted me a whole paragraph about family sticking together and how she was disappointed in my cold heart. My cousin Greg sent me a thumbs down emoji, which honestly stung more than I thought it would. But here's the twist. Not everyone sided with Dad. Turns out Ryan's been hitting up other relatives for cash for months. When they heard I made him sign a contract, more than a few people actually respected it. One cousin messaged me, good, maybe now he'll stop asking me for loans I never see again. Another admitted Ryan owes him over $1,000 from 2 years ago. Suddenly, my loan shark move didn't look so crazy. But Dad couldn't handle that the tide was shifting, so he escalated. Yesterday, I came home from work and found my mailbox ripped out of the ground, lying on the sidewalk. Screws scattered, post bent. Petty as hell, but I'd bet money Dad did it. No one else on this street hates me enough to vandalize federal property. And get this. He also showed up at Ryan's apartment unannounced, yelling loud enough that neighbors called the cops. Screaming about how Ryan was bowing down to me, how he was spitting on the family name. Cops didn't arrest him, but they gave him a warning. Ryan texted me afterward. You've broken him, man. I've never seen Dad like that. Honestly, that hit me harder than I expected. Because I realized this isn't just about money, it's about control. Dad spent decades telling me I was less than. Now he has to watch his golden son come to me for help. And it's killing him. So yeah, the contract is signed, Ryan's officially my debtor, and Dad's rage is spreading like wildfire through the family tree. Some people think I'm ruthless, others are quietly cheering me on. And me? I'm just sitting here, sipping my coffee, watching the empire of favoritism collapse. But I've got a feeling the real fireworks haven't even started yet. The family gathering came 2 weeks later. Grandma's birthday. One of those events you couldn't skip without looking like a total villain. I showed up late on purpose. When I walked into the hall, every head turned. I could feel the tension like static in the air. Aunt Linda gave me a cold glare. Cousin Greg smirked like he'd been waiting to watch me crash and burn. And there was Dad, sitting at the end of the table, arms crossed, jaw tight, eyes already burning holes in me. Ryan was there too. He looked like hell. Dark circles under his eyes, clothes wrinkled, sitting hunched like he was trying to disappear into the chair. When he saw me, he gave this small, almost grateful nod. Nobody else noticed, but I caught it. Dinner was awkward. People kept side-eyeing me, whispering. At one point, Dad made a loud, fake laugh comment. Some people think family's just business contracts these days. That got a couple chuckles from his loyalists. My ears burned, but I didn't take the bait. Not yet. The moment came after cake. Grandma opened her gifts, everyone clapped, and then Dad stood up, tapping his glass with a fork. My stomach dropped. I knew what was coming. He cleared his throat. I want to say something. Family means loyalty. Family means sacrifice. It means you help your brother when he's down, not exploit him. He looked straight at me. But apparently, some people forgot that. Gasps, Murmurs. Eyes swung my way. The whole room was ready to pounce. That's when I pulled out the folder. Funny you say that, Dad, I said, standing slowly. Because loyalty cuts both ways, and so does responsibility. I opened the folder and held up Ryan's signed contract. Audible gasp. Ryan's face went red, but he didn't stop me. This, I said, voice steady, is proof that Ryan came to me when he needed help. Not you, not Aunt Linda, not anyone else who's been preaching about family, me. And I didn't turn him away. I gave him exactly what he asked for, money. But I gave it responsibly. Because unlike you, Dad, I'm not enabling him to keep failing. The room went dead silent. You could hear forks clink against plates. Dad shot to his feet, face purple. You smug little bastard! He lunged toward me, knocking over a chair, hands shaking like he wanted to grab me by the throat. Aunt Linda tried to step in, but he shoved her aside. That's when Ryan, stood up. Enough, Dad! His voice cracked, but it was loud. I signed it. I agreed to it. And Jason's the only one who treated me like an adult instead of a screw-up. You don't get to spin this. That froze Dad mid-step. The whole table stared. Ryan, the golden boy, siding with me. Dad's hands balled into fists, but he didn't move. He looked around the table, realized the room wasn't with him anymore. People weren't nodding along. They were shifting uncomfortably, whispering, avoiding his eyes. So he did what Dad always did when the power slipped away. He broke something. He grabbed Grandma's crystal vase from the table and hurled it against the wall. It shattered into 1,000 pieces. Grandma screamed, and then he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. The silence afterward was crushing. Everyone stared at the shards on the floor. Ryan slumped back into his chair, looking 10 years older. Grandma whispered, "Lord help us." And me? I sat back down, folded the contract neatly, and slid it back into the folder. My hands were steady, my voice calm. Because for the first time in my life, Dad wasn't the man in the room. I was. The vase incident should have been the breaking point. Any normal man would have crawled away in shame after a meltdown like that, but my dad wasn't normal. He thrived on control, and humiliation was like lighter fluid to him. He couldn't stand it, so he had to burn something down. The retaliation started small. One morning, I came outside to find my tires slashed. Not one, not two. All four. Deep, clean cuts. I reported it to the cops, but let's be real. Without cameras or a witness, nothing was going to stick. They shrugged, wrote a report, and told me to be cautious. 2 nights later, my doorbell rang at 1 a.m. When I checked the camera, no one was there, just a shadow darting away. The next morning, there was a dead fish on my porch. Who the hell does that? Who buys a fish just to leave it rotting on someone's doorstep? I didn't need a CSI team to know whose fingerprints were all over that move. Then came the texts. Unknown numbers, all caps. You'll pay for turning your brother against me. Traitors get what's coming. You think you're a man? I'll show you what a man is. I blocked one number, another popped up. Blocked again, another. It was relentless. Ryan tried to calm me down. He called one night, voice heavy. Jay, he's unraveling. He showed up at my place screaming about how I'd disgraced him. Neighbors threatened to call the cops again. I don't even know if I can stay here. That's when it hit me. Dad wasn't just punishing me. He was punishing Ryan too, because Ryan had signed that contract. I told Ryan he could crash at my place for a while. He hesitated but eventually agreed. And when he showed up with a duffel bag and hollow eyes, I realized the golden boy wasn't golden anymore. He was just a man stripped down to nothing, finally seeing Dad the way I'd seen him for years. But Dad wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. 3 days after Ryan moved in, I came home from work to find my front door wide open. My stomach dropped. I rushed inside. Nothing was stolen, but the place was trashed. Drawers yanked open, papers scattered, photo frames face down. My computer was unplugged and sitting on the couch like someone had thought about taking it but decided not to. On the dining table, written in black marker across one of my walls, were 3 words, "Not a man." My hands shook, not with fear but with rage. This wasn't just intimidation, this was war. And the sickest part? Deep down I knew Dad wanted me to break, to scream, to hit back physically so he could finally say, "See? I was right about you all along." But I wasn't going to give him that satisfaction. No, I had something better planned. Something that would hit him where it hurt the most: his pride, his reputation, his throne as the so-called real man iron of the family. Because if he wanted a war, he was about to find out I didn't just fight back. I ended legacies. Update 2. Holy hell, you lot do not mess around. I've been on my phone all night, reading comments, scrolling DMs, laughing, crying, and getting 3 different people asking if I want to go on a podcast. No, but also maybe, depends on the fee. First, shoutouts and receipts. A couple of you dropped real, practical advice that actually helped. File everything, was the refrain, and I did. Police reports logged for the slashed tires and vandalism, report numbers filed away. I installed cameras, ring lights, motion sensors, the whole paranoid homeowner starter pack, so if Dad or any of his cronies show up again, there's a paper trail. I even had an intake with a lawyer. Yes, I know how that sounds. Yes, it cost $1.50. Lawyer gave me the "do not break the law" look, then quietly said the contract I made is enforceable if we dot the I's. Notarized, witnessed, clear terms. So it's not just a piece of paper anymore, it's a legal lever. Standout DMs made me choke laugh, cry. Somebody suggested I should torch Dad's truck, obviously insane and illegal. Another demanded I take his house. Tempting? Sure, in a cartoon way. Responsible? No. I won't be the person who becomes what he's accused me of. Some of you, though, were savage in the best way. Expose him. Make his throne look like a folding chair. That's exactly where we're going. A few emotional responses. A surprising number of cousins texted privately to say they'd been sick of Dad's act for years but were terrified to speak up. One cousin admitted Ryan owes him money from 2 years ago and that Dad lectured him for enabling Ryan. That message alone told me the story wasn't as one-sided as Dad wanted everyone to believe. Also, this matters, Ryan started messaging back. He said things I'd never hear from him in public. I see it now. I hate that it took getting wrecked for me to notice. I'm sorry, Jay. He sounded bruised but awake. That apology felt like a small human victory amid the mess. What I've actually done so far: concrete, legal, non-murderous. Notarized the loan contract and made copies. Filed police reports for vandalism and threats. Saved every text email. Installed cameras and set them to cloud save footage. Met with an attorney to outline options if Dad escalates: civil suits, restraining order, small claims to enforce the debt if Ryan defaults. Told Ryan he can stay with me, safety first, and he agreed to a plan to start making the monthly payments. And the revenge plan? Not violence, not fraud. Public, humiliating, irreversible in the best way for someone who runs on reputation. I've been quietly collecting a dossier for weeks: bank transfers, old family text threads, photos that show the pattern of favoritism, and recorded moments where Dad praised Ryan in front of relatives while dismissing me. I've got witness statements from cousins who saw Dad buy things for Ryan and gaslight me about it. I'm assembling it into a simple package: timeline plus receipts, or the notarized loan, Ryan's sworn statement about what happened. I'll present it publicly where Dad can't wriggle out: his retirement party at the Union Hall. The same crowd that elevates him, neighbors, old co-workers, friends from the league, will see the truth in black and white. Yes, that's nuclear reputation-wise. No, it isn't illegal. It's the kind of humiliation that cuts harder than a smashed vase, because it dismantles the story Dad has been telling about himself for 30 years. The real man who knows how to run a family. I'm not trying to destroy him as a person, just the pedestal he uses to stomp on others. Some of you said, go scorched earth, and I get the impulse. I'm opting for surgical. Make the pedestal collapse. Let him fall in front of the people who made him feel invincible. Let Ryan stand up and say, in a room full of witnesses, that he asked me for help, and that I didn't turn him away. That will be the wound he can't pin on me. Emotionally, I'm exhausted and weirdly calm. There are nights I wake up and still hear him: "You'll never be the man your brother is." But when I read the messages from people who saw the truth, quietly cheering me on, I feel like I don't have to carry that voice anymore. Ryan's not perfect. Dad is not redeemable overnight. But for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm not shrinking to make someone else bigger. The Union Hall was packed the night of Dad's retirement party. Rows of folding chairs, cheap streamers sagging from the ceiling, and a big banner with his name stretched across the stage. For most of the town, this was a celebration of a man who'd worked 30 years at the plant. For me, it was the arena. I walked in with Ryan at my side. He looked nervous, tugging at his sleeves, but there was steel in his posture I hadn't seen before. He wasn't the golden boy anymore, just a man ready to stand in his own mess. Dad spotted us instantly. His smile faltered. I could see the calculation in his eyes. How to spin this, how to control the narrative before I even opened my mouth. He got up on stage and did his speech, the usual chest thumping, hard work, loyalty, family first. People clapped, some even whistled. And I felt that familiar burn in my chest, the lie of it, the hypocrisy. When the applause died down, I stood, cleared my throat. I've got something to add. Every head turned. Dad's face went red, his jaw tightening. Jason, sit down. This isn't your night. No, I said, my voice louder than I expected. It's the perfect night, because you've spent 30 years telling everyone who you are. Now they deserve to hear who you really are. I walked to the front, folder in hand. People started murmuring. Dad's fists clenched at his sides. I opened the folder, pulled out the contract. 2 months ago, Ryan came to me for help, $5,000. He signed this. I held it up so the crowd could see. Because no one else could bail him out, not even Dad. Gasps rippled through the room. Dad tried to shout over me, but Ryan stepped forward. His voice cracked, but it carried. It's true, Jason helped me. And Dad tried to tear up the contract because he couldn't stand the idea of me needing my brother more than him. The room went silent. You could feel the weight of the words settling over everyone. Then I pulled out the photos. Screenshots of texts from Dad, telling people I was cold, ruthless, a failure as a son. Copies of old receipts showing how he paid for Ryan's car, Ryan's apartment, Ryan's debts, while telling the family I was selfish for not contributing more. I laid them on the table in front of the stage like evidence in a trial. You always said I'd never be the man my brother is, but here's the truth. Your man, your golden boy, came to me, and I didn't turn him away. That's more than you ever did. The crowd was buzzing now, some whispering, some openly shaking their heads. One of Dad's old co-workers muttered, "Jesus, Rick," loud enough for everyone to hear. And then Dad snapped. He lunged at me. Not just a shove this time, full-on fists swinging. The crowd gasped. People jumped up to grab him, but he connected once, square across my jaw. My head snapped sideways and the room erupted. Ryan shoved himself between us, screaming, "Stop it! He's your son!" Others pulled Dad back, but he was thrashing, spitting, shouting every ugly thing he'd ever buried. Worthless! Weak! You'll ruin this family! It took 4 men to hold him down. 4. And I just stood there, jaw throbbing, contract still in my hand. Calm. Because he had just destroyed himself. Not me. Not Ryan. Him. The room wasn't looking at me like the problem anymore. They were staring at him, red-faced, violent, broken. The mask was gone. And for the first time in 32 years, I felt taller than him. After the punch, everything unraveled fast. The party didn't end with cake and speeches. It ended with Dad being dragged outside by his own coworkers, veins bulging, screaming my name like I was the one who ruined his life. I stood there, jaw aching, while the whole room looked on in stunned silence. The next day, the fallout began. Half the family called me, some to apologize, some to double down. Aunt Linda left me a voicemail so long it cut her off mid-rant. "You humiliated your father. You'll regret this when he's gone." My cousin Greg sent me a text that just said, "Respect." Grandma, bless her, called crying. She whispered, "I saw the way he hit you. I can't unsee it. I'm sorry, Jason." But the biggest shift came from Ryan. He didn't slink back to Dad. He stayed with me. Started showing up to odd jobs, helping me fix things around the house, even picking up part-time work. And every month, on the dot, he handed me an envelope with his payment toward the loan. Sometimes it was wrinkled bills, sometimes it was a check, but he always paid. Always looked me in the eye when he did. One night, after dropping off another envelope, he sat down at my kitchen table, staring at his hands. Then he said, "You know, when Dad used to tell me I was the man, I believed him. I thought I was better than you, And it felt good. But standing there at that hall, hearing you call him out, watching you keep your cool while he lost it, that's the first time I realized I've been living in his shadow, not yours. You're the man, Jay. You've always been. I didn't know what to say. For years, I dreamed of hearing that, but instead of triumph, what I felt was relief, like chains falling off. As for Dad, his reputation never recovered. The Union Hall incident spread like wildfire. Neighbors whispered. Old friends stopped inviting him to poker nights. People started using words like unstable, hot-headed, dangerous. The pedestal he'd built for himself was gone, shattered just like Grandma's vase. He tried reaching out once, left a voicemail spitting venom. You turned your brother against me. You made me a laughingstock. I didn't call back. I didn't need to. He'd already destroyed himself, and I wasn't carrying his wreckage anymore. Now, months later, the contract is nearly paid off. Ryan's still rough around the edges, but he's making changes. And me? I sleep better. Not because I won some battle, but because I don't hear that voice anymore. The one that said I'd never be the man my brother is. Because the truth is, he was right. I'll never be the man my brother is. I'll be better. And Dad had no choice but to watch it happen.